So now we move on to Daf Chavav Amid Beis. What's the source for the fact that Adam HaMazik is chayav even b'shogeg? Minani mili. Omar Chizkiya v'chein Tana de Bechizkiya. Omar Kra. The pasuk says in Parshas Mishpatim, Hetza tachas potza. And this pasuk is completely superfluous because it already said earlier the din of Adam HaChovel b'chavero, v'ish ki yitei mumba miso kasher osa kei yosa lo. And we derive the din of Tashlumei Nezek. So why does the Torah have to repeat this, the halacha of Tashlumei Nezek, in Petza Tachas Potza? But rather, l'chayvo al hashogeg kimezid. The ribui here of the extra Petza Tachas Petza means he has to pay even though the Nezek was implemented b'shogeg. V'al ha'ones kirotza. And even if there were pressures that he was compelled to do this nezek, nevertheless, even though it wasn't b'rotzen, it's considered like it's b'rotzen. Frek the Gemara, how can you derive from this pasuk the chiyuv of tashlumi nezek and adam hamazik b'shogeg or ba'ones? Hi, mi boy, we need this pasuk for a different Joshua. Litein tsar b'makom nezek to be mechayev adam hamazik and tashlumi tsar, even though and in addition to tashlumi nezek. We would have said that the tashlum for tsar is only in a case where there was no nezek. For example, kivo b'shipud b'tzfarno. So again, if he sort of like burns him in his nails, then there's no hefsed, there's no nezek, there's only tsar. And this pasuk is coming to teach me that he has to pay tashlum tsar even though there was no chiyuve nezek. So how can you use this pasuk to derive from it the chiyuv of Adam HaMazik b'shogeg? And where answers him came, if the pasuk was only telling me this drasha of litein tsar b'makom nezek, then lichtov kra, the Torah could have been satisfied by saying petza b'petza. So the word petza would teach me tashlumei nezek, and then b'pat petza would teach me tsar in addition to nezek. But umay petza tachas potza, why the extra word tachas? Shma mino tarte. We're going to derive two different halachas. Number one, that there's a chiyuv tashlumei tsar in addition to nezek, and even in a case where there is no nezek. And furthermore, to be mechayev tashlumei nezek, even in adam hamazik b'shogeg or ba'ones. Omar Rava. Okay, now we start a very, very famous sugya. A man was unaware of the fact that he has a stone sitting on his lap or on his chest, and he stands up, and the stone is projected. Number one, it damages. Le'inyan is zakim chayav. Why? Because adam muad liol. But le'inyan ar b'dvar poter. As far as tsar, ripuy, sheves, and boshes, if the Evan cut into a person, he's potter. Because these four chiyuvim only apply in a case of mezid or in a case of karov lemezid. Le'inyan Shabbos, let's say he did a malach on Shabbos, and he gives an example here based on the Meiri Kigon Shavira B'Chekar Ba'amas, just a rabbin, or he does a Chabura, which would be Meleches Chovel, told of Netilas Neshama, is Potter. Why is he Potter? Meleches Machshavas Asur Torah. So you need Machshavas, you need Das. If he did the Malach without Das, then he's Potter. Le'inyan Golus. Let's say the stone flew out and killed someone. Does he have to go into Golus? Potter. Because the Torah says in Chiyuv Golus, in Parshas Matos, it says, V'nos shomer otzeach maki nevesh b'shkog. And the language of Shkoga means that there was a Yediyah. But here it was lo hikar b'klal. Now I'm tempted to assume that this case of Chaisam Munachas lo Evan b'chekav lo hikar ba is misasek. And then we come to the conclusion that Adam Muadli Olam applies even in a case of misasek, which is a pel of a chidush. Le'inyan Eved, let's say this Evan goes flying and it damages the Shane or the Ayin or any of the 24 Rashi Varm Shel Eved Knani is plucked. Now we have to learn a machlokes between Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Rabban, the Sanya. We learned to the Bryce. Haresha Haya Rabba. Rabba means the Adon of the Eved. Rofe, he was a doctor. The Omerlo Eved says to his Adon, Chol Eini. I have an infection in my eye. Please do a chol, which is a kind of medicinal salve or so that he puts on the iron. And Sima, as the Adon, the Rofe, was applying this salve to the eye of the Eved, he took out the Eved's ability of sight. He was chovel bi'eno, and we say that there's yitzia b'rashei varim, which means that the Eved should go lecheres. If the Eved turns to his master and he says chasor li shinei, so I don't know the English translation of the word chasor. I'm not sure if it means to pull the tooth or I think more likely chasor means to like
the Hebrew says linakot, to clean.
Linakot. Here he says ligarer sviv moshva. Like I guess you scrape off some of the gum around the base of the tooth. Anyway, as the Adon is doing this act of chatira of the shinayim, he pila. He actually pulled out the tooth. And an Eved goes free when his Adon pulls out his tooth. Sichek bi'adon, the Eved is playing with the Adon, with his master, and he says, you know what, do the following for me. And the Adon was chovel, is yotzel lecheres. According to the Tanakama, according to the Rabbanon, in all these cases, the Eved goes lecheres. Even though, again, the Hapolas Shein, the iron was not done b'kavon. Rav Shimon Gamliel Omer, no. It's Achi's coming. Why? Because let's look at the pasuk. Says Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, "V'chiyakeh ishas ein avdoas ein amoso v'shichaso," and he destroys it. Lechavshi shalchenu tachas eino, and we're going to dash in the pasuk that Achi is coming. The word v'shichaso means l'shachasa. In other words, he deliberately uprooted the tooth of the Eved or blinded the eyes of the Eved. But in all these cases that we had above, he didn't have kavana. The Adon was not miskamin lachbolbo. He was miskamin for refuah for schov. So the Eved does not go out for cheres. That's the sheet of Shimon Gamliel. So according to the Chacham, he goes out lecheres. According to Shimon Gamliel, he does not go out for cheres because there was no kavana lachbol. And now the Gemara analyzes another case in which we make chilukei dinim with regard to nezek. Hikerba, he knew that there was an Evan in his chest, V'shachacha, but he forgot about it. V'amad, and he stood V'nafla. So certainly Linyan is Zik and he's Chayav, because even if he didn't ever know about the Evan, he'd be Chayav. But what about Linyan Arba Tvarim, Tsar, Ripuy, Sheves, and Boshes? Potter. Why? Because we said you're only Chayav if it was Kavana Lachbol, and now he was Shachar. However, Linyan Golus, which we said before in the case where he never knew from the get-go that he had a stone there, he was Potter from Golus, because it says Maka Nefesh B'Shkoga. Here in this case, this is actually considered Shkoga. Why? Because he knew about the Evan and he forgot. The Omar Kra B'Shkoga Mechlal Tahavile Yedia. He once knew about it. He knew he had a stone there. He forgot about it. He killed someone V'Shogeg for Havile Yedia. Linyan Shabbos Potter. Because again, Meleches Machshavas also told this is not considered Meleches Machshavas. Linyan Eved, if he takes out the Shein or the Ayin of the Eved or one of the 24 Rosh Evarim, is beplugta the Rabbana, the Reb Shimon Gamliel of Rabbana. So the Nefilas HaEvan that fell from the Chek of the Adon is without Kavana. According to Chachamim, he goes L'cheres. L'maisa, it was a Maisa Chabala. He took out his Shein or Ayin. According to Reb Shimon Gamliel, the Eved does not go out L'cheres because we had the Pasuk V'shichasa. It's got to be Kavana L'shachasa. And here the Adon had forgotten about the Evan. It was certainly not Kavana L'shachasa. Now we have another case of Chilukei Dinin. This Kavi Lizrok, the man had Kavana to throw a stone, Stein, 2 amos, Vizorak, Arba. And instead, the stone flew 4 amos away. So apparently he put an extra energy here, which he didn't know about. Linyan Ezekiel Chayav on the Muliola. Linyan Arba Dvarim Potter because he didn't have Kavana to be Choel. Linyan Shabbos, Meleches Machshavas Minan, and this is not Meleches Machshavas because he didn't have Kavana to throw it 4 amos. And the minimum that you're Chayav in Rishus HaRabim is 4 amos. Le'inyan Golus, so we said that in Golus, you need a Yediyah, and in the case where he once knew about the stone and then he forgot about it, he goes into Golus because he had a Yediyah Tchila. What about this case? He knew he was throwing an Evan, but he intended to throw 2 amos and it went 4 amos, and he killed somebody. So he's Chayav. Why is he Chayav? Asher lo tzada amar Achmana. He's Potter, I'm sorry. Because normally he's Chayav for Shogeg. But here the Torah went out of its way to say Asher lo tzada. Pratlin is Kavi Lizok Shtayv Zork Arb. Wait a second. I'm sorry. We have to go look at the pasuk. That's the problem. We didn't see the pasuk inside. Asher lo tzada. Pratlin is Kavi Lizok Shtayv. V'zorak Arba, and he's Chayav Golus. Let me just see if I have the Torah or here. The Torah or is only going to give me the pasuk of Asher lo tzada. I need another pasuk here. The Chiyazit. So I'm going to take a minute just to get a chumash here because I don't think we can really do justice to this. Shmos Chaf Aleph Pasuk Yud Gimel. Second. Make ish v'meis mos yumas v'ashelo tzada, meaning he wasn't amazed, right? He didn't try to ambush him. But velohim ina liyado v'samti l'cha mokom asher yonas shama. I see. In the next pasuk, you see, it's very important to open the Chumash here. It says, "V'chi yazid ish al reyehu lahargo," and then he is looking to Chedelam. So now we contrast the two psukim. Pasuk Gimel says, "Asher lo tzada," and the end of that is "V'samti l'chol mokom asher yonas shama," and then it says, "V'chi yazid." So when it says here, Pratlin is coming Lizrok Shtayim Vizorak Arba, it doesn't come under Ki Yazid, because he never had kavanah to throw at Arba Amos. And if it doesn't come under Ki Yazid, then it goes back into the original pasuk of Asher Lo Tzada and V'samti L'chol Mokom Asher Yonash. So it's Chayev Golos. Le'inyan Eved Pluta de Rabbi Shimon Gamliel V'Rabbanan. Once again, according to the Shitel Chachamim, the evidence Yotzi L'Cherus because he was Chovel B'm. According to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, the evidence doesn't go L'Cherus because V'Shichaso, you need Kavanah L'Shachso, and here he clearly didn't have Kavanah L'Shachso, he only intended to throw 2 amos. Okay, now what about Shabbos? So Shabbos, we said Meleches Machshavos also. Next case, is coming Lizok as a Even Arba Vizorek Shmon Linyan Nizok and Chayev Linyan Arba Dvarim Potur, because once again Arba Dvarim is only in a case of Karov Lemezid. Linyan Shabbos he's also going to be Potur, I assume. Chayev. Why is he Chayev Linyan Shabbos? The Omer Kol Mokv Shetirtzeh Tanur. He never said that he wants to put it down 4 amos away. Wherever it falls, I'll be very happy. Then he's chayv. Elo, if he only had kavanah to throw it 4 amos and it went 8 amos, lo, he's not chayv because it's not Meleches Machshavos. Linyan Golus. Vasher lo tzoda pratlin is kavin lizrok arba v'zork shmona, that he's chayv Golus, and it's not a sherlo, and it doesn't fit on the Ki Yazid. Linyan Eved, Pluta de Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Rabban. Once again, the Chacham hold you Yotzi L'Cheres because of the Ma'aseh Chavola, even without Kavanah. And Rabbi Shimon holds V'shicha, so you need Kavanah, and here you didn't have Kavanah. Okay. Now we get to the one of the most famous sugyas in all of Nezikin. Omar Rab, Zora Kli Mirosh Hagad. Ruvain throws a kli, which is about to be smashed. He throws it from a high roof. It's about to hit the karka. Somebody takes a stick, and on its way down, he smashes the kli. So what would you say? I would say that Mana Tvira Katava. Pot, my time of Mana Tvira. So who's chayav? The one who's zorek? It's like a din of Gavra Ketila, he's already considered like a dead man, and the kli is considered smashed already, it's worthless. And therefore the makil is pot. However, Omar Rava, Zora kli mirosha gava itachtov karim oksosos. So he threw down the kli, and it's going to land and be cushioned by karmic sosos. So silicon. Now somebody runs down and removes the cushions. Oshakadam silicon. Now this is the big chiddush of Rabbah, that even if the Zorek comes down and somehow miraculously flies down and he's able to remove the cushions and then the keli smashes, potter. Why? And the Gemara says, "My time to be in the shadye pasuke mafsike gire." In other words, the nezek here cannot be attributed to the Maises Rika, because that's called pasuke mafsike gire. Gire means his chaitz. His chaitz would have stopped short of destroying the chli. So what was machadish the nezek? The removal of the karmic susos. Well, guess what? That's called grom v'nezikin. So the Zorik himself is not chayv. Why? Because his Maises Rika would not have culminated in and of itself in destroying the kli. He can only therefore be chayv for removing fasila karmic susos, and that's called grom. V'yomar Rava, Zorak tinok mirosh hagag. So now we would say that the Zorik is a rotzeach. So now, according to everything that we learned until now, it's a gavra ketila kotakal, and the Zorik should be chai. But the Gemara says, "Badul plukta." The Rabbi Yehuda ben Besei Rabbana Desanya hiko asora noshim vi asora maklos is bein bevas achas u bein bazecher zeh kulam pturim. Here on Daf Chav Zayin, the Torah says in regard to Rotzeach, Vayikol Chav Daled, V'Ish ki yakeh kol nefesh adam mos yumas. And the Chacham say he's got to be kol nefesh. You got to kill the whole nefesh. But here the nefesh already is in the process of expiring. So kol nefesh is only a one-man show. Horeg levado sa'adam. Then he's chayah. But here, when many people participated, there's no one particular person who fits the description of a kol nefesh. Therefore, everyone's potter. And that is the shita here of the Rabbanan. However, who is the dissenting view? Rabbi Yehuda ben Besei Omer, no. V'zecher zeh achon chayah. So Rabbi Yehuda has a new chiddush in Hilchos Rotzeach called Kirev Es Misosa. So in a case where all 10 people killed him with Vasachas, then even Rabbi Yehuda would say that they're potter, because it says Ish Kiyake, and only one person could be a market, could be Chayah, but not Shnayah. Or for example, the case of Zorak Tinuk Barosh Hagag, who bought Acher v'Kibla b'Sayev, then according to Rabbanon, they're both potter, because you can't say that either of them was guilty of Hika Kol Nefesh. But according to Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, the Sheni is Chayav because he was Kirev Es Misosa. And this is where we're going to stop here on Daf Chav Zayin. Okay then, so thank you very much, and we'll continue Mitzvah Shem tomorrow.